My name is Udeme. I cannot pronounce my name, so first pointer. Second pointer is I'm not cool. I'm just me. So with that, we'll talk about deliverability today. I've been fortunate to do this for about maybe 16 years, but it's just a number, like age, you know, the older you get, the younger you get, yeah, So today, this is our agenda. I will not follow the agenda because I'm gonna bounce around a lot. First, I'll just try to keep email pretty simple. Pretend I'm very dumb and new. I've never heard the word before. And then we'll kind of break into deliverability a little bit. So he said I'm an expert. I don't know, maybe, maybe not. But you could break email into deliverability, reputation. There's 2,000 acronyms I won't even talk about so you don't fall asleep. And then one thing that they said I must talk about are folders. So you've got your typical inbox, spam folder, trash. Gmail makes it a little wonkier. You've got tabs. So, well, email goes to promotions tab. It's not the inbox. Well, it's not spam, so enjoy it. But, yeah. So, see, I told you I'm not an expert, you see? And then we'll do a little trivia. We'll have some tips and teasers. This is the trick to make me come back and speak again, this part. So we're just going to demystify email from the top, take it down to deliverability and the stuff I talked about a minute ago. Just so it's a little more clear to understand. Trust me, these days I get lost, and I just hold my tongue, go out, scream into the bathroom, and come out and go back to work. So with that, what's email? This is one way to look at it. The analogy, and I like to use analogies a lot because, like most of you know, some days when we go to the office, you've got the geek next to you, you've got the introvert, you've got the extrovert, you've got the CFO, sometimes you've got the scary CEO moment in the room, but sometimes we've got to use analogies a lot. So one I like to use, it's just like a highway. 2-lane, 3-lane, 4-lane. So 4-lane could be Gmail. 3-lane could be, I don't know, Hotmail, a German ISP provider, whatever. Email is kind of a little old, older than me, 1960. It started from, I think, some wonky little computer techie stuff at MIT, and then it evolved into, you know, the ampersand symbol was born. Then you could have the TLDs, that's like the domain name part, so like reallygoodemail.com. There's a technology behind that. It didn't just start one day. Digging a little deeper, so sometimes you can also call it an art because it's not rocket science. What you could look at today from industry benchmarks. So you had Chad talk about some stuff from looking at, you know, the top X ESPs and what happened in QX and percentage of this and that, but things change all the time. So for example, this is 2020. Back in the day, we could just set up a simple mail server, have a bunch of IPs. You didn't need to segment your email. Now you have to segment the segments. Yeah, you fall asleep. So it's like an art, if you think about it. And then there's a lot of measurement into it. So you've got KPIs. So that's the crazy acronyms you look at. Inbox rate, spam rate, sleep rate. No, there's no sleep rate. Block rate, delete rate. Some people don't measure delete rate. So basically, at the top, I can measure how many emails got delivered. And then I could see what percentage went to the inbox. If it's Gmail, sorry, you got to do promotion tab rates. Sorry. There's also spam folder rates where the more those become, the little more scared out we get in quarterly reviews, or people want numbers for success, or benchmarking for next quarter. That's the scary one nobody likes. Spam rates, no one likes those. If it could be 0% every day, it's cool, but still creepy because you want to tell me one person definitely hits the spam button every day in every email, at least one. So, and then there's the repetition part of it as well, where you kind of measure, that's basically measuring the KPIs. And then the et cetera could be testing. So whether you look at using image rendering, you've got cool tools like Litmus, email on acid. So, you know, you got to test the email before you send it out because what it may look like on a MacBook may not look the same on an iPad or an Android device or a BlackBerry, if they still exist. We can also measure, so this is one part that I didn't include here. So this is the part where you look at the bounce rates, what got blocked, not went to spam, the part that got rejected. So it could be many things. Either kind of look at it like a credit score for email. So if your credit score is not too good, then you're not going to have good inbox rates. Or depending on if the receiving side of that, I call it email immigration, doesn't like your email, you get bounced back. No, you can't leave the country. No, your email can't get into the inboxes of your subscribers. And then, but there's also, remember, there's another part where maybe the servers are overloaded. It could be Black Friday or Easter in, I think, about a month. So everybody's sending maybe cute egg hunt emails for tattoos. We saw earlier, I'm like, I could do an egg tattoo for my 4-year-old. And she would scream, paint my nails, and all that fun stuff. So, but then that's the part that gets bounced. You also have the good side, where the email migration guys let you in. But it could be, the email looks okay, doesn't look spammy. So one example could be the typology thing the gentleman talked about a few hours ago of, I can't remember the ratio or something. But what if the HTML to image, the HTML to image balancing isn't reasonable? It looks spammy, and I'm sure everybody here once every day gets an email that looks a little suspicious. Did my wife really send me that email? Is that email really about tennis? I'm a junkie, sorry, see that. So it'll go to spam because it looks suspicious. It doesn't mean that it's bad, it's complicated. So, but you could measure this as well using this stuff. And then the bounces, we already talked about that through the rejected mail part, where you've got hard and soft. So a reasonably good email practice is to not not retry a hard bounced email, which could be due to a mailbox is dead. So if I turn off my Google address or Gmail address today, and really good email sends me something, and it bounces once with a specific error code behind that, they shouldn't retry that again. Depending on the type of hard bounce error, they could. And then if you look at the soft bounce part, that's basically saying maybe server busy, retry again. There's like 9,000 types of deferral messages or bounce messages. So there's a bunch of vectors you could look into, but we've got folder placement we talked about. We have engagement. This is a tricky one because remember we went down memory lane a little bit and talked about before you just whitelist stuff with 2-3 parameters, it'll deliver fine. Now, receivers or mailbox providers or ISPs, that's what we love to call it. They've made this more complicated for a bunch of reasons. One, they don't like marketers. Kidding, just kidding. It's more complicated, one, because they're trying to stop the bad actors that just, buy a purchase list and blast to, I don't know, the guys at the coffee shop. One, there's no relationship. Two, there's no, it's just weird. So they're trying to stop the bad guys from, or the large volume bad senders from getting email to their users. That's one reason. Another reason why engagement is key, because if you think about it, some marketers would send people 99 emails a day per brand. Just random example, that's not true. But if you got 99 emails a day from the same brand, you're gonna get bored, the interest rate will drop. So when the interest in the email drops, and that's how they have some algorithm they measure into around engagement. Hence, it's more complicated now. So, and then we've talked about bounces. There's also complaints. So basically that is when you see that cute spam button in your mailbox. Some are cute, some look funny, some look fuzzy. But every mail client has a spam button, where when you hit that button, that registers as a spam complaint. So maybe 1 out of 1,000, 0.0000001%, just example. If you have 50 complaints out of 100 emails that delivered, that's 50%, ouch, that's not good. So that's most of the time measured into that, and that determines if an email go to the inbox folder or spam folder. That's pretty straightforward about what could get blocked and then what gets deferred due to server busy, mailbox full, mailbox dead, or whatever. So that's what falls under here again. So, trivia. When do you guys think the first email message was sent? Is it, sorry? 1971. Wrong. It's 93. I wasn't born then. Are you sure it's 93? I saw you Google that answer, so you're wrong. You don't count. So it is 71, yes. So thank you. Yeah. And the reason why I asked is because it's cool to sit back and think about the thing we use so much every day that's evolved from hopping on your computer, check your email is now all apps, 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 apps. Still email depending on rendering and whatever, but it's cool to have that sit back perspective and think about where it started. That one word called email is complicated if you think about it. It's crazy. That's probably why we're here, conquering the coronavirus. So, but if it didn't matter, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't love what we do. And sometimes it gets rough. We've all been there, but if you think about it, we love email for a reason, but it started from somewhere, and it's not perfect like anything else. Now we can talk about email folders. I like to call it a file cabinet because different cabinets have different sizes. Some mail clients are pretty straightforward. Nobody likes this folder because there's a high chance people won't check it. Everybody loves the one at the top because our end users get to see the email and click, open, dance to the hokey pokey, buy stuff, vacation, crank up our CTR rates and everything, but who doesn't like the inbox? Everybody loves it. One thing to consider is no spam filter is perfect, and that's because of how it's a little more complicated to filter the right messages to the right folder depending on who, what, when, where, why, and other stuff like the KPIs we talked about. So it gets a little tricky more and more, where sometimes I say, I've not seen email from Matt in a week. Something is weird. Well, I know they have long nights because I'm going to Greenville in 2 weeks. Let me check the spam folder. But what if I didn't think about checking the spam folder and an email was there? So that's why it's tricky. And like you guys know, sometimes there's false positives in anything. So like you have your car, it's brand new, it starts to shutter, 1,000 miles on the radar, and I'm like, it's a new car, it shouldn't do that. But it happens in email. So now we're going to talk about the spam folder, the scary folder. And one part that is interesting is no one likes spam. It gets more and more complicated just because the ISPs want to filter email properly to the right way. That's one of their terminology. But we can redefine that and say when they want to deliver appropriate email to the appropriate folder, it's for reasons. So an example is the spam folder. When this happens, it doesn't mean that they dislike the email. It just means that it triggered things that may or may not coincide with the recommended practices they offer. So simple ones are don't buy lists. Easier said than done. Ha ha ha, knock on wood. Another one is you could measure things like the user activity. So the more they care, the higher the chance you could send people stuff. The less they care, tone down frequency. But what if you land in the spam folder and I only email them once a week about a new offer? Then it could be a false positive, or it could be maybe I didn't set up house right when I started, or something's broken somewhere. So it's nice to look at that as when you have spam folder issues, it's not a bad thing. It's something caused the problem, so maybe research what caused it. So if my back hurts, probably because I got punched by a 4-year-old with a toy. Or I'm just getting old. So sometimes you can look at the actual real data and facts, but thinking outside the box too from a second perspective helps, because sometimes what you see is not what you get. So this has made email deliverability a lot more complicated, but it's not scary. It's just looking at the facts and data. No marketer is perfect. Every marketer is perfect as well. Everybody's cool in what they do, how they do it, and understanding what is working, what you don't measure, like we're at a conference, a lot of what I've learned is from going to conferences and just not being afraid to ask dumb questions. So sometimes I'll tell my boss, I'll say, I need to go to X conference because I'm going to ask dumb questions about what they do. I'm not the sales guy. The sales guys are the ones that wear their suit and tie and try to sell products, but we're the guys in the trenches doing the dirty work to get emails sent. But being able to be a little more humble and step back and use that mindset and reach out to people and, build the relationships, they go a long way. You'd be surprised. So the last bullet we already talked about, but it's just the more you have, and when I say good email with poor engagement, so the good email part means it's kind of like a war between both that determines where email would go, if it goes there or the inbox. So this is just understanding the users from if my business model is appliances, for example, I shouldn't be sending microwave marketing email every week. I don't need a microwave every week. I need it once a year, once 2 years. I could say we have a different electronic offer because you bought a microwave from us. Just trying to step back a little helps that bigger picture of getting the email delivered if you balance that. So even though we love to send 99 emails a day, I still remember that part. So I'm not saying it's bad, but if you apply common sense to deliverability, there's a higher chance you have fewer issues where just understand that if you send 99 emails a day, people are going to lose interest. If I sent 3 a day, it'll make more sense. But I'm not saying go home and send 3 emails a day. One idea could be look at the metrics that you have now and see whatever you measure. If you sit down in a 30-minute war room meeting, I like to call it war rooms, but if I'm like, okay, so what did we do in the last 30 days, 3 months? Let's look at people that we sent to have clicked or opened something in the last 6 months. Ooh, all the metrics fly up. 95% inbox rate, 2% spam rate. I'm like, so why are we sending 99 emails a day? Well, we want to send many. I said, yeah, but quality measures better than quantity. So sometimes sending too much email doesn't solve the solution, but you look at it on a user-by-user case and what you think they will actually care about and how they'll actually engage, but also put yourself in their spot. And that could help us avoid that scary thing called spam. So, and then we already talked about this, but this is basically, if you see poor engagement, then that means something's not working, but just try something different. Think about the product you're trying to showcase to the users, and then from there you can figure out the metrics you want to use or the frequency. It all adds together. So, another trivia. So when, yeah, sorry, I had to do it. This is not 1971, by the way. It's not 78. It's not 2002, but try one. It's one of the three, I promise.
71.
Why?
That was one of the first emails ever sent. They probably didn't have unsubscribed, but it would have been appreciated.
Okay, you can come speak. I'm done.
It was all spam until the first email wasn't spam. Until it was spam.
What if there's no spam folder back then? Aha. You could be right, though. Going once, last shot, 71. Oh, sorry, they ratted you out. So it's 78, yeah. So your analogy was right, no doubt, because I would have thought the same thing the first time, but also it's something new. So most times when you test, it could land in spam, it could land on the moon, doesn't matter where it lands. So, but this is when email has started to build a little tract, get some weight, you're starting to look like something normal. People actually know what it's called. People have email addresses because remember when email was invented back here? That, matt@realgoodemails.com did not exist then. After that was created, that was kind of where you had the Matt part could be defined as a technical spec, is an easy way to put it. It's like adding a tire to the car. So first you had the car, and then now the ampersand is the wheel. And the tires is the part before with his username, or Matt, as we like to call it easy. And then the really good emails.com part, that's all got funky skeletal wackiness behind it. So one other cool thing I think we should chat about is whitelists, because that word used to be very popular. So when you would send emails and have, for example, Yahoo delivery issues, you have the crazy form with your name, street address for the office, domain name, IP address. So those are just basic parameters they would use to check their internal reputation database and see if there's actual legit issues or false positives. And if there were false positives, they could just whitelist your IP and you're good. And then after a while, they could whitelist a domain. So when I talk about domain, that's the domain name related to whatever brand marketing campaigns you're doing. So like I said, back in the past, they had a lot of weight. They still kind of do, but I would put my life on it. The weight around it is pretty low now. One, because deliverability is a lot more tied to engagement now than just whitelist the IP, whitelist the domain, whitelist my face. No, it doesn't work. It's not Nicolas Cage, face off. It won't work. These still matter a lot because remember we have how deliverability is a lot more sophisticated now with AI and machine learning from the last 2-3 slides, but also they're still the bad guys. So nobody here in the room is bad, even the cameraman, I promise, you're not bad. But you've still got people that do 419 scams. You still have people that do PayPal fish. Emails look like it came from, an email could look like it comes from Matt or the really good emails crew. But there's measures you can put in place to prevent or reject fake, fishy emails from getting sent to all of us in the room. So, good example, what if the email they sent out with today's schedule, what if you had a link at the top saying, before you can see today's agenda, click this link and put in your credit card? Nobody would do that. One, that's common sense. Two, that's what bad guys try to do, if you think about it. Sometimes we get emails from airlines or whatever brand, and they look suspicious, but there's a reason why Gmail, for example, could flag it, because something on their end, on their side of the filter says, this looks suspicious, but they won't tell you because if you're the good guy or the good people like you and I, we say, why is it suspicious? But what if it's some random person that the phisher is trying to take advantage of, and they don't have some email technology policies in place? So, they would click that link, put their credit card, put their date of birth, put their cat's name, pay $1,000, whew, that money's gone. So that's why these still exist. But there's a lot behind this. So I'm keeping it simple because I got the high five wave from the back just now from nobody. So, and also back in the day, fewer stuff mattered to get to the inbox. So I go back to the Yahoo example. I have a delivery issue. You talk to your techie guys at your company. What's our IP address or IP addresses? Or what's the domain name that we use? Or how often? How many users do we send to? Stuff like that. So users, I mean subscribers. So back in the day, fewer of these mattered, but now it's more complicated. So now we can talk about simple tips and basics to go through. One thing is consent. That is pretty big. So basically, there's laws out there around best practices, can't spam. That's a common rule for us. There's the GDPR part that scared everyone in 2018. But think outside the box, just keep it simple. Even if it's at least a single opt-in to capture that consent. If you want to verify that April Mullen is real, then you do a double opt-in. She clicks, sends her a triggered email to confirm it's her. And then this is part of another out-of-the-box part we talked about. Just look at the user's life cycle. If the less they care, the lesser the chance that they're going to care to keep opening our emails and engage. And just monitor the metrics that we talked about earlier. So be it inbox rate, spam rates. If inbox starts to drop, maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe it's just Easter. People don't care about buying cars or bicycles. Summer, high engagement rate. Think stuff like that matter too. Properly authenticate. So this basically means we have social security numbers, driver's license plates on cars. So there's a couple of identifiers behind authentication to give identity to legitimate email that people send. So these are the three simple ones. So these are just three simple identifiers how to sign your email, but not just set up an SPF record, but the tech guys at each of your companies would know how to set this up with your domain registrar. This is like a cryptographic fingerprint tied to a domain name. And this is just preventing spam and phish. And resources for this, it's pretty simple and straightforward. So these are the technical, I call it, I don't know, SPF 101, DMARC 101, but these are how each of the authentication protocols work to help email have that cool license plate, social security number, or something attached to the domain or brand. So this is another slide that tells you in a very simple way how each work. So SPF just tells people, hey, I have permission to send using the domain name tied to a bunch of IP addresses. And DKIM is, I call it cryptographic, but it's like a fingerprint type thing, keeping it simple. It's DNS-based, meaning there's something that sits behind a domain name in a bedroom called DNS, where the tech guys at your organization can set that up based on a specific key length. So those could be what we call 1024 key length or 2048. So the longer the key, the tighter, the more stricter the rule is, but it's all techie mumbo jumbo. Just get the picture of the slide, you're good. Just how to make sure that email is not spoofed or phished. A higher chance is legitimate, but it's never 100% fixed. It's just the more of these things that you would do help to have more legitimate email, the lower the chance of getting flagged, because it's never 100%, yes, I have all these, I'm good. I've seen delivery issues with all these things, and it's just maybe they weren't set up well, or I forgot to put a foot in the door, something. So, simple tips. Engagement is key. That's one big thing. Managing complaints is just understanding the metrics behind if you see spikes in complaint rates, something is probably going off somewhere, or you're sending too much, too frequently. No, sending too frequently, not too much. Sorry, I corrected that. This part is also important around the tech guys at each of your companies should be able to segregate between hard and soft bounces. So I don't want to retry a hard bounce 99 times. So if I know that an email address is a hard bounce, I shouldn't want to try it more than once, maybe twice, depending on the type of hard bounce. And the soft bounce is just the server is busy, or there's traffic in the email word at the destination. So soft bounces happen. It's not a bad thing. And then just look at tools. So an awesome tool set is pretty key. But also look at stuff like the optimization tools. You've got Jason here, and I've used this product before in the past at 2 previous employers, and it gives a great idea of what may look great on the iPhone 10 may not look the same on the iPhone 4. Yeah, they're old, but people still use those. Not my grandmother though, but these are things you could think outside the box because they help you look a little deeper into what our consumers see. What this means is it's one safety check to test what you have before you send a campaign. So a good example is looking at the optimization part we talked about, using be it Litmus or Email on Acid, or even looking at how really good emails stuff works. But testing, it's like having a test drive on a car. I would not want to buy a car that I know will drive in the winter because it's all-wheel drive, and I live in Buffalo, but every car drives differently. I do not want to drive a Yukon. It's too big for me. I'll drive a smaller SUV. So put that over to email and just test it out, send a few test campaigns, have 1 or 2 email addresses that you just play with, and then you'll be good. So the future of email. So we talked about spam laws a little bit, but it's just try to research and look for, even if it's a simple Google search for email spam rules or regulations, to educate yourself. Talk with people. If you have a legal team, I'm not saying be mean with them, but understanding the legal side of email is not legal terms. They're 2 different things. So it's just talking and understanding the differences and saying we're not trying to be pushy, but the industry says or recommends, and there's white papers and blah, blah, blah. And we're already doing this today, so I won't say that. Stay connected. This part kind of dances around the future of email, where there's stuff called AMP, for example. A lot of you have heard about with Google. There's something else called BIMI. I want to talk about that so bad, but I can't. So BIMI is just basically tying the logo that you know and recognize. For example, the Really Good Emails logo. They would tie it to an email technical standard. And when you read all their emails, you see that cute logo in the from field. So you go, it's one more thing to know it's them, versus a red blob of something, a blob of paint. So that's basically what BIMI is. It's one more way to trust. So yeah, it got to the inbox, not spam. Good. Oh, we got the agenda today. Cool. But, there's that cool logo with the swanky stuff. Aha, now I really know it's them. So that's basically what BIMI is. And I'm done. So we're running over time, so I will be glad to take all the questions. I'll just sit on the floor in the back, cross my legs, and wait for the questions, and I'll answer each. Thank you.